BitBoyCrypto versus atozy. Got a tip the other day on Twitter about a lawsuit I had not heard about yet. And NFT Evening tipped me off as to a lawsuit that I had not heard about. You should follow NFT Evening. They're relatively new, May 2021, 21,000 followers. And so they tipped me off on a lawsuit that was filed by BitBoyCrypto against atozy. And it's a defamation lawsuit. And so let's dig in and find out what's going on here. You know how I love to analyze these lawsuits in the crypto space. So here is a copy of the complaint. And you can see this is a Georgia state court case. Ben Armstrong is BitBoyCrypto. And we'll talk about him in a little bit. And I'll show you a little bit about what he's got going on. Huge YouTube channel, great website, big social media following. He sued Erling, and I'm going to crush this, Mengschel Jr., who is also known as atozy. And atozy does YouTube videos as well. And so atozy did a video where he essentially called out Ben Armstrong, a.k.a. BitBoyCrypto, for endorsements that had been made by BitBoyCrypto for certain tokens. And really expressed his opinion that Ben Armstrong was not trustworthy. And as you're going to see here in this verified complaint, when we go through it in a little bit, he's saying that he was defamed. So BitBoyCrypto is saying he was defamed by atozy, and we're going to dig into that and find out what is required in order to make a defamation claim for an internet post, for a YouTube video. It's probably something you all are very interested in because people are getting roasted left and right all over the place, sometimes justly, sometimes unjustly. Where does the First Amendment fit into this? What is required in actually to sue someone for defamation? And you're going to find out the bar is super high because in the United States, we have the First Amendment. First Amendment is a really big stick that usually wins the game. All right, so we'll jump into that in a minute. And before we get into the factual allegations, the actual things that are being litigated here, let's go ahead and set the stage. So who are these folks? Well, atozy, who is getting sued, is this guy. And so he's atozy on Twitter. And you're going to see that he's got a YouTube channel. He's got 39,000 followers. That ain't chump change. And Ben Armstrong, well, Ben has been around for a while, and you're going to see here that he's also got a YouTube channel, but he's got 880,000 followers. So he's a big dog. He's what we call an influencer, right? He exerts influence on the community, on the market. You know, he shares information. He offers his opinions. He does educational stuff, as you're going to see here. So let's take a look at the YouTube channels that we have involved here. You've got atozy, and we'll get back to him in a minute. And you've got, if we scroll up here, BitBoyCrypto, freedom through crypto. Yeah, I should subscribe. Check him out. All right, so I don't know either of these guys, but I saw the lawsuit, and we do see a lot of litigation in the space right now, and you want to know about that litigation. You want to know how things work. You see people getting flamed all over the place. You see people fighting and yelling and screaming and disparaging all over the internet. None of that's new. That's been going on for years. We do more online defamation than just about anyone in the country, so we understand the game. In the crypto space, maybe it's taken it up a notch, but maybe not. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. You see it in the political arena as well. So BitBoyCrypto, if we just take a look at some of his playlists here, you'll see he does a lot of different things, some deep dives, metaverse stuff, specials. I don't know exactly what all this is, but we do see that he does a top crypto list, coin and token reviews, and I'm not sure
let's keep it simple.
What exactly
Crypto
he's doing here, if he's endorsing particular products, coins, tokens, NFTs. But we're going to talk a little bit in a bit about what is required legally if you're an influencer in this space by way of disclosure. So the FTC in the U.S. regulates false advertisements to consumers, among other things. And there's a bunch of CFR, 16 CFR Part 255 requires a number of disclosures if you happen to be endorsing any products. If you got anything, an airdrop, or if you own the token, you have to make all those disclosures so people know whether or not you're biased, right? So we'll get to that in a minute. But let's go ahead and take a look here at what's happening. And so this is a clip from atozy called I Got Sued.
All right, some of you guys may know that I'm currently being sued by the largest crypto channel known as BitBoyCrypto for $75,000 or more. A lot of you guys are probably very confused like I was, so I'll take you guys through the whole timeline. At some point...
All right, we're gonna skip the timeline because at the end of the day, he gets sued. It's a lot of money. He gets threat letters. He's got service people showing up at his door. Eventually, he gets sued, and we'll talk about that lawsuit in a minute. We might crush through this thing as quickly as we can. So we know who these two players are. We know they got big social media followings. atozy definitely called out BitBoyCrypto, right? So he called out Ben Armstrong for sure. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of exactly what the video was that he took issue with and what kind of potential endorsement was made of a failed project and whether it was a pump and dump and this kind of thing. But those are the merits. We're going to leave that for another day. What we want to do is educate you on what would be required in order to show using this as an example. So before we get into the complaint that was filed, let's take a look at some of the content that we have on our website, traverslegal.com. We've been around since 2004 when I founded the firm. But you're going to see that, there's a lot of things that are required in order to prove defamation. But one of the most important and one of the most difficult things in the U.S., with the First Amendment being the hammer that's going to come down on most people if they're going to defend themselves in one of these lawsuits, is you have to show a false statement of fact. False statement of fact. So that means it's not an opinion. So what's a false statement of fact? Well, let's take a look here. Let's dive in a little bit and take a look. So a false statement of fact is super challenging, and it's often the most challenging part of defamation. A statement of fact is actionable. A statement of opinion is not. So what is a statement of fact? So Joe got in a fight at the bar and punched Ralph. Okay? Those are factual statements. They either happened or they didn't happen. Either Joe was at the bar or he wasn't. Either he punched Ralph or he didn't. You can prove them true or false, right? And so that is key. Can you prove what was said as true or false? That is a very high bar. So what is an opinion? A statement of opinion is there's a gray area here, I'll warn you, right? But if someone says, well, I saw Joe punch Ralph at the bar, and man, that guy is a jerk. The statement that he's a jerk, the opinion about him as a person or his reputation, those are all opinions. I can't prove whether he's a jerk or not. It's a matter of opinion, right? So false statement of fact, provable as true as false. Opinions, First Amendment protected. So let's dive in real quick here. Take a look at the complaint. Let's take a look at the actual allegations that were made here. So atozy accuses BitBoyCrypto of scamming his fans. So is that a statement of fact or an opinion? Well, context is everything, but like if I say you're a scammer, that's a statement of opinion if that's all that goes with it. If I say that you engaged in fraud and it's debatable, it's a matter of opinion, right? If I say that you engaged in fraud because you owned crypto, a token, that you were pumping and dumping, and that you did not disclose, right, to your fans that you owned crypto that you were pumping, right? Then there's some statement of facts in there. Was he pumping? That could be a statement of opinion, right? But did he own the crypto? Well, either he did or he didn't, right? Maybe there's statements about whether or not he sold after the price went up. Well, if he did or he didn't, that's provable as true or false. But generally, scamming's not going to get you there, right? So let's take a look at what actually is being litigated here. So Armstrong's honesty, credibility, and reliability, these are all opinions, right? If I say you're dishonest, that's an opinion. If I say you're a dirtbag, which apparently is being litigated here, that's an opinion. No one can prove it, right or wrong. Shady dirtbag on YouTuber. These, you cannot litigate these. I've heard that maybe this lawsuit is going to go away. I don't want to jinx it because I don't like people getting sued, and I don't like people who have to sue because neither is fun, right? But these are not statements of fact. They're not actionable. This so far, there's nothing here. There's nothing here to be litigated, right? Dirtbag, 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 dirtbag influencer. Okay, the fact that he's an influencer is a statement of fact, and it's true, so that's not actionable. Okay, again, dirtbag, sleazy. This man Armstrong has enriched himself by being an all-around dirtbag. I don't know who, I don't know the attorney who filed this, but I'm telling you, there's no way I would ever file a complaint based on these allegations. None of this meets any semblance of a factual statement test. This is all First Amendment protected. And yeah, it hurts, and yeah, it sucks, and yeah, you'd never want to be the target of this kind of speech, but it's protected speech in the US. Europe's a different matter. All right. So not someone you should be looking for advice for whatsoever. Total statement of opinion, right? How reputable of a source is he for crypto investments? A legitimate question, not a statement of fact. Cannot be trusted, opinion, right? So you see here, there's just nothing here, right? So now we get a little bit, maybe a little juicier. Paid to sell cryptocurrency. That we have to take a look at. Does anyone provide him any sort of airdrops or compensation in exchange for pumping a cryptocurrency? If so, he had a legal obligation under U.S. law to disclose all of that conspicuously, as we'll see in a minute. But if he never did get any sort of compensation, and it's not just cash, it's not just crypto, any benefit from a project, right, then that would be a false statement of fact, right? Scammer, opinion, suckers, scam, none of that's gonna get. So there's not much here. It's really thin so far, right? Brought the scammers to inexperienced investors who is sadly the sucker. All right, so none of this so far is impressing me at all. Is deceptive and misleading investors. Well, there are failed projects here, so that could very well be a statement of opinion as well. Beyond misleading, well, it turned out that if it's a failed project, you can make the argument that whatever the pump endorsement was turned out to be false, and in retrospect, at least misleading. All right, so here's where we get a little bit more interesting. It's basically inevitable that the SEC is going to get involved because dirtbags like this Armstrong cannot resist the urge to take a quick buck and just milk their audience for some extra money. All right, well, that's a statement of opinion because we don't know whether or not the SEC is going to get involved, so that's not actionable, right? Whether or not he made, Armstrong, Bitcoin, crypto made any money off this, if he never made any money off of any of the videos that he did, and off any of the NFTs that he talked about, any of the tokens that he talked about, then maybe there's something there, right? But you can see here, there's just nothing here. There's just no way Armstrong invested his own money unless he did it with a goal to dump it on his followers, right? So if he now what's being said is that BitBoyCrypto did not actually use his own money to buy. Maybe there's a little bit of a hook there, but this is really thin stuff. You gotta have enough here to really give a foundation to build on, and it can't be kind of incidental, right? So you can see more sleazebag, more lack of supporting facts. Well, that's it. Now we're into defamation. Well, it says atozy made numerous false statements. What are they? You can't plead fraud or defamation in general. You have to be very specific. Exactly what were the false statements of fact? None of what we saw above is likely going to get anywhere near qualifying. Those false statements. What false statements? False statements of opinion are not actionable. All right. So what do I think about this lawsuit? Look, I could be wrong. It's always like going to Vegas when you go to court. So anyone can win, anyone can lose. But my personal view is that I just don't think this is a legitimate lawsuit. Now, you're going to see is that atozy in his video, if you go back and watch it, I'll put it in the description. He says that this is all kind of an anti-slap. This is an attempt to silence him and take his video down, which happens all the time. There are anti-slap statutes. There's one narrow one in Georgia that may or may not apply. But in any event, the concept is sue someone in order to hide your misdeeds, right? Or to silence legitimate First Amendment opinions that are going on. All right. Whew. That's a lot, right? So keep in mind, if someone disparages you on the internet, if you're a crypto project, if you're an influencer and someone calls you out, you have to identify the very factual, true or false things that are false, and that you have to show that they're material, and that you have to show that they actually harm your reputation. Yeah, so that means if your reputation is shit, you got no claim, right? So you got to have a good reputation going in order to even have a claim in the first place, right? So very tough, very high bar. There's a lot of this stuff going on. My advice is typically to try and just defend yourself the best you can, ignore it best you can, and let it go to the bottom of the feed. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is there are a lot of influencers out there. There's a lot of YouTubers out there, right? So if you are an influencer, if you're a YouTuber, you want to be totally in tune with what is known as Part 255 of the FTC regulations, guidelines concerning the use of endorsements and testimonials in advertising. And the reason why this is important is because this is the basis of a claim of fraud against you, and you have to disclose any sort of material connection you have with the project, which could be any compensation, a free anything from them, and you have to conspicuously endorse it before you endorse them until you say anything good about them or encourage people to follow them, right? So there's some great examples here on this particular 255.3. When an advertisement represents directly or by implication that the endorser is an expert with respect to the endorsement message. So this would definitely apply to BitBoyCrypto, right? The endorser's qualifications must in fact give the endorser the expertise he is representing with respect to the endorsement, right? So that's really important. So non-experts who are endorsing products as experts can be sued for fraud and come sideways of the guidelines, the U.S. government guidelines to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission on expert endorsements. What else is in here? This is all the good stuff. Consumer endorsements, right? So an advertisement employing endorsements by one or more consumers. So if you're not an expert, but you're like, hey, I'm just an everyday Joe, about the performance of an advertised product or service will be interpreted as representing that the product or service is effective for the purpose depicted in the advertisement. So essentially what this all means is if you're just an influencer, not an expert, and you're endorsing a product, it better be absolutely true. It better be honest. It better be it better be factual if you're making statements of fact. And you're going to have to make disclosures about the fact that you're being compensated for the endorsement, right? And that's where we get into this last part, 16 CFR, part 255.5, disclosure of material connections. This is a big one for anyone in the influencer space. None of this is new, man. People in the influencer space pre-crypto have been complying with this stuff all day long. And some of the social media tools like Instagram have these disclosures baked in, right? But YouTube doesn't. So you got to disclose if you're getting paid for an endorsement. So what does it say? It says disclosure of material connections. When there exists a connection between the endorser and the seller of the advertised product, I'm pumping crypto or an NFT project. And boy, a lot of people pumping NFT projects that are nowhere near complying with this stuff. FTC can come after you, and I can get hired by someone who lost money as a result of your endorsement and use these provisions to show that you violated law and therefore you're even more liable than you were before, all right? Such connection, right, must be fully disclosed. For example, and let's kind of go down here. There's a good one. Let me find it. Video game expert maintains a personal weblog or blog, posts about his gaming experiences. Okay. Manufacturer provides a free release of the video game to the person who's doing the endorser. So you get free stuff. You have to disclose that as a paid endorsement, as a sponsored post, as a sponsored video, right? So if you get a free copy, even though it's computer generated content, readers are unlikely to know that you received the game for free of charge in exchange for a review of the product. This is a material fact which affects the credibility of your endorsement. So when we're talking about consumer fraud, what we're talking about is credibility. What we're talking about is the ability of a consumer to know whether or not you're giving an objective view of the product, an objective view of the NFT project, or whether or not you own some of those NFTs and therefore have a stake in the outcome, or whether or not you've received something from the project and therefore have a stake in the outcome. You have to disclose all that. It's a shit show out there in the NFT market. You all need to catch up. Watch these videos. And by the way, if you've got any questions or comments, or if you need to know anything, you can go into the comments of this video. I will answer everything. You can go on to my Twitter feed and ask. And so let's take a look at that. It is right here. The NFT Lawyer on YouTube is the name of my Twitter feed. And I've got a YouTube channel where I've got all kinds of videos that talk about all these legal issues in the NFT space. You can get it all for free effing legal, right? So go ahead and subscribe, ask questions, comments, participate in the discussion. Let's elevate everybody up. Let's elevate everyone up, get everyone up the ladder so that we're all doing it better. We'll create legitimacy in the Web3 market and beat down some of the scams, some of the frauds, some of the rug pulls, some of the pump and dump, because that shit is killing the credibility of the NFT brand, of the blockchain brand, killing it. Meaning that regular people are never going to come into this space if they think it's all a scam. And right now they think it's a scam. So how do we improve the brand of NFT, the brand of crypto, the brand of blockchain? Got to clean it up. It's up to us. We'll see you next time.